Okay, so under your battery tray, underneath the car, you should see a shield like this held on with 4 bolts. On my actual R53, that's actually been removed, so I can't show you the process of removing it, but you can see it's simply 4 bolts in each corner of the tray, and you'll be able to remove that. So I'll just take you to the car now so you can see where that would fit. Okay, so now the car's up in the air, let's take a look underneath. You can see here 1, 2, 3 and 4, and that's exactly where that battery shield attached to that I've just shown you. So mine doesn't have it on it, so it was actually removed when the car was rebuilt and there was no need to put it back on, so we didn't add it in. But you can see that's where it attaches. Okay, so the next step after removing the battery tray is to actually remove this lower bit of trim here. So first of all, there's 2 screws at either end. You can see that one there, and that's a posi screwdriver needed for that, so let's get that off first. Make sure you retain any of the screws or bolts that we're removing during this process. It's a really tricky bolt to undo, but once it's out, it's out. There we go, that's got it. That's that removed. Okay, and then we move down to the other end. Let's do the same at this end of the car. You can see there's another one just there. We just do the same thing to get that out. These cars are coming to sort of 10 years old plus now, so a lot of these bolts maybe been in and out and chewed up, so they're a bit tricky, but just keep persevering and you'll get them out. Okay, that's that one out. See there? That's where the bolt came out. Okay, and then the next step, once you've got the 2 screws out either end, is to remove this trim. Sometimes you need to pull off this corner piece first. We'll give that a go and see how we get on. Just pop that one out. Then you should be able to simply unclip all the way along, and then just held in clips. Okay, so the next step is to actually fit the diffuser itself. So you can see these trims are off, well not off but loose, just so you can tuck it in behind there. All this trim's missing, obviously the battery tray we've taken off as well. Now I've got the GP inserts fitted to my rear bumper. It doesn't really add any complexity to the install, you just have to make sure you slide the top edge of the diffuser underneath those GP trims, and you can always refit these GP trims afterwards if needed. Let's go grab that and we'll show you how it fits. So you can see it is a really easy install. All you do is this lip here, tuck underneath the bumper. Everything else, so all this edge actually goes on top, so you can see on this green section here. So you just, on mine, it's a little bit more tricky to see just because you can't see it sitting. Make sure they're tucked behind, slide on. It's as simple as that. That's the first part of the install. Okay, so let's take a look under the car now so you can see where it attaches. You can see here's the battery tray area that it attaches to, and there are 4 holes that you just bolt through using the existing hardware that you've took off. And if I maybe position the light in there, you can see there's actually a threaded section sticking out from underneath the battery box, and all you do is place the existing hardware on each of those threaded sections, and that will hold the diffuser in underneath. So let's just put a nut there and simply bolt it in place, and you just have to do that 4 times. Let's do the back corner now. That's only with 2 bolts in, and that's already nice and solid, so I'll go ahead afterwards and just put these 2 bolts in. Okay, so you can see here it actually sits on top of the bumper, not in the groove that's along that held the original trim. It actually sits on the painted section, goes all the way across, fits snugly against your bumper. And then all we need to do now is actually refit this trim that we unclipped just to get the access. That just presses back into place. Now mine, you can see, because I have, this is actually the rear GP trim, mine does have a little gap here. If you had the original Cooper S trim, that would actually follow down and follow the line of this better. So I'm not sure what to do yet, whether to keep this GP trim because I like the aggressiveness of it, or actually get hold of some Cooper S ones so they sit snugly against this, because I've seen the fit on other cars and it's a really good fit, so we'll take a look at that after. And then all we need to do is, if you have a Cooper S, you take the original screws and actually put those in underneath, hold this trim to the diffuser. So all you would do if this was using the Cooper S trim is actually, if you see this hole here, you just insert the screw and tighten that up until it goes into the bottom of the diffuser and holds in place, and do that at both ends. If we then switch round to the other side, you can see all we need to do is clip this section back in and give this a bit of a push, and we'll be on. Right, for those of you that have got these GP trims on the ends, so this is an extra step that's not needed if you're running the Cooper S trims, but this is just purely for those that want to run these GP trims still, is the fact that the standard S trims actually pull this in against the body line, so you get this nice fitment here. You don't get that with the GP trim because the screw holes are a lot lower than what they would be with the standard trim, so it doesn't actually hook it in. So what I've done as a fix is actually to just drill a little hole inside the fiberglass lip here that you'll never see, and actually used a cable tie to go through. There's actually a tab just behind here with a loop in it, or a hole in it, that you can feed your cable tie through, and all that does is pulls this in and holds it in nice and tight. So you can see there, we then refit this side trim. Let's get that in. You can see now, and we just needs a little bit of movement, but we can see straight away that's held in nicely against the body line. And this is the gap you get if you run the GP trim, so it's up to people what they want to do. They can either live with that or just run the stock S trim, and the stock S trim actually runs up right against the edge of this because that's what it was designed to work with, not the GP trim that I have. So I thought I'd give you this little hint at the end of the video for anyone that does want to run it with GP trim. Again, like I say, if you've got Cooper S, you don't need to worry about that. Right, so that's me just step backwards just so you can see while it's still on the ramps, and we'll just talk you through. So the install, super easy. All I needed was a socket set and a posi screwdriver. So your posi screwdriver is just for the 2 screws at the ends, and then your socket set just to remove the 4 bolts holding on the battery tray underneath, which you actually remove from the car, and you dispose of that and just keep the additional hardware.